Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Steven's Vinyl Adventures episode of Yesshift. I'm Steven, and this episode is pre recorded this time given the busyness of Labor Day weekend and me wanting to release this on August 31st, Roger Dean's birthday. The man, the legend, who has illustrated a lot of works by Yes, album covers, even video release covers and logos, those types of designs. So, I mean, if you're a fan of Yes, you know Roger Dean. So, what did I choose to talk about for this one? Well, I narrowed it down to a couple of different things, and I ended up going with Tales from Topographic Oceans. And this is sorry, got a text message. And this is my favorite Yes album. It's Dad's favorite as well. I believe this version is from 2016. And I'll read the info on the inside in a moment. But yeah, I actually got this, and I've probably talked about this on the show that I got this on or at rather Amoeba Records, that record store that's in Hollywood or thereabouts. And of course, I'm also wearing my Row Affair tour shirt that has Roger Dean stuff on it. And yeah, this episode won't be quite as lengthy as you might expect since the album is lengthy. Dad and I have talked about Tales from Topographic Oceans at length before. So I'm basically showcasing the how it looks and little things that came to mind while listening, and also talk about something that I read while listening to it. So let me go ahead and read the info on the inside. Um, so the year info and whatnot. I'm pretty sure it's from 2016 if I remember correctly. Uh, yeah, it says Roger Dean 1973/2016 and lists his website there as well, rogerdean.com. I'll go ahead and show you how the inside looks. I just got to angle this correctly. Actually, I'll take out the records first and then show the inside. The physical LPs, I should say. All right, so and these have the Tales album cover in the middle. So here's side one, the revealing science of God. You can even see the reflection of the screen there. And side two, the remembering. I'm wondering if I should share a couple photos, like splice a couple photos into here. We'll see what I end up doing. And I'll go ahead and put that back in the dust jacket thing. That's what it's called, right? Dust jacket, or is that just for books? And we got this other one. All right. This one is kind of lodged in there. Okay, here we go. All right, so side three, of course, is the ancient, and side four is ritual. And I like that it includes the runtime on there as well. All right. So y'all are familiar with the front side and the back side of this, and probably the interior as well. Um, so here you've got, all the lyrics and those pictures there that are included on the interior. And something I'm noticing on this version is how on the front cover, the vegetation, like the greenish turquoise vegetation, kind of stands out more. I find that on the CD version, it kind of just blends in, and maybe the color isn't as vibrant, but yeah, that's interesting there. Um, so when I listened to these on my record player, I put in the headphone jacks because even though it was daytime, it was still morning, and so I didn't want to disturb any of my roommates or anything, but I wanted to listen to the sounds to the fullest. So I put the headphone jacks in, and it sounds great. It maybe sounds a little bit less clean than I'm used to or than I remember from listening to the CD versions. I'm so used to the 2003 Rhino remaster. And of course, the the early 2000s version of Revealing Sets of God includes that extended intro before the chant. This does not have that. It's the version that starts with the chant, but still incredible. I prefer it with the quiet intro, but I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. I think this time around, listening on this vinyl record, the standout for me was the do 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 do, that keyboard bit, and of course the remembering sounded great as well. I always love the Don the Captain, that whole part, and out in the city running free. Whenever the lyrics get more melodic sounding and fanciful, I guess you could say. Um, and I noticed that the ending of the remembering, the bits of the keys that go do 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 at the end felt quieter than I'm used to. So maybe that's just how it is on this LP at least. The Ancient, it sounds as grand and you know as noise filled as we're used to, and of course ending with the gentle leaves of green. And then there's Ritual, and really cool to listen to the heaviness of that on this record. I sometimes find myself missing the embellishments that are added to the drumming parts toward the end in the live versions when listening to the studio version. But of course, it's kind of funny how people point to Tales from Topographic Oceans as an example of Yes being too self-indulgent, and you see that because of the restrictions of vinyl perhaps, or maybe even without that they showed restraint when it comes to Ritual, but in the live setting they love expanding it, which I quite love. um so yeah, I really enjoyed listening to this vinyl version. When I saw it at that record store, it was between this and ABWH, and I decided to get this. Part of me kind of feels like maybe I should have bought the ABWH one as well, but I'm sure someday I'll come across a vinyl copy of ABWH. Um, and yeah, so I was oh, on the back you can also see that reptile fossil there. I'm trying to see if like the streams appear. I guess they don't go above the horizon line, at least. Um, but yeah, I was listening to this while reading Kevin Mulrine's recent book, Tales from Topographic Oceans. Yes, Listening Guide. Got this in the mail a couple weeks or a few weeks back, and finally got around to reading it. And I really like that it includes timestamps of, oh, this part references that other Yes song, and it's something to keep. I in the future I could like flip through that part and be like, okay, well, I catch that this time. And I also like that it compares the Steven Wilson remixes. I've only ever listened to the Close to the Edge Steven Wilson remixes, the recent ones anyway. I don't, maybe there's a difference between that and the 2010s one. And I found that I don't have the best ear for that sort of thing, figuring out the differences between what I'm used to and the Steven Wilson remixes. But here there's a section, in this book where it says what's different about the Steven Wilson remixes. So if I listen to those versions of the Tales tracks, then I'll be able to, notice that a bit better, with that direction. So yeah, this is a great book, includes some black and white photographs, and there's also a full color supplemental you can also get from Kevin's website. You can go to tormadobook.com and it should take you there. This has full color photos. It's a little smaller, thinner book, similar to the situation with his book, The Tormado Story, from I think 2 years back now. And of course, this also includes a section about Roger Dean and talking about the the aspects of the album cover, the stuff he's talked about regarding that over the years, some even recent, and even differences in how the album cover has changed. There's been a difference in how the water stream has been shown on the original and then in later versions. And it even includes photos of places that parts of the painting look like. So I really enjoyed that, and we gotta have Kevin on the show in the near future. We'll send him the options and see what we can work out. But yeah, this is a great book. If you've never listened to Tales, I suggest listening to it first and then reading this and then listening again. Because I don't know. If you're watching this show, I don't know how you would not have listened to Tales already, but you never know. This could be someone's first episode about any Yes topic. So, yeah, I know this is a rather short episode, but it's pretty funny that my journey of re-listening to this album and reading this book all within one day is longer than actually summarizing that whole experience. But what can I tell you? We've talked at length about Tales, love the album. The book also includes quotes from band members and from people who've appeared on the Yes Music podcast, and also some quotes from the Gottlieb brothers and their classic Tales of Yes tour book, and even a bit of Bill Martin's book, uh, Yes, Structure and Vision in Progressive Rock, I think that was. And it's interesting to think about the context of what other epics from other bands were like within the couple of years surrounding the release of this album and the differences between those. So I quite like that. Um, and this book also mentions that Tales might be the most well-known Roger Dean album cover, and it's definitely been on lists, and even on our show it was maybe the number one, or at least the number two. It was between that and Relayer, and lots of people who tuned into our show or commented and said what their favorite Roger Dean artworks are. Like, this had many votes for Tales album cover. So it's just so iconic in the Yes canon. So yeah, happy birthday to Roger Dean, 81 now, I believe. And I'd also encourage people to go check out Roger Dean Official, the Facebook page. So recently, he's been quite busy. On August 11th, he made a post about having gone to the Bloodstock Festival and thanked everyone who went there. And he's also been posting about some limited edition prints of different artworks. I see there's the Relayer one. Um, and there's let's see, Flights of Icarus. That's another one. Uh, I think this one was Bird Songs of the Mesozoic. I could be wrong, but it's one of those. Um, and another one I'm looking at. This one has a bird on it, I think. I don't quite recognize where it's from. But yeah, check out that Facebook page. And like I said, he's been pretty busy lately. On August 22nd, he presented a lecture at Concept 101 in London, which was a day-long event which brings together the concept art community through lectures, networking opportunities, portfolio reviews, and an after party. The event is nonprofit, so tickets are free for attendees, and it was fully funded by sponsors who were represented on site. So I'm sure that was an interesting event. And coming up, this is an event coming up on September 3rd. Maybe I've mentioned it already, but might as well mention it again since it's coming up. Is a live painting at Trading Boundaries. And this will also have a Q&A. This will be Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. So Roger says, join me as I explore ideas on canvas and talk about my creative process, architecture, and what the future might look like. We'll also be unveiling the new Fragile print ahead of the Yes US 2025 tour, which will be available to purchase for the first time on the evening. Tickets are £25, which includes access to the gallery upstairs with a curated selection of paintings, sketches, and drawings. The event will also be live streamed via Facebook, his Facebook page, and Trading Boundaries. Doors open at 7 p.m. and will be starting at 7:30 p.m. So that would be UK time there. And I'll go ahead and show the graphic for that. Realize I can do that. Let me do it this way. So yeah, I really wish I could go to Trading Boundaries. If I ever go back to the UK, that's something I gotta do. I just got it. I mean, there've also been live performances there before, so really cool stuff. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. All right. And I think it's cutting off a bit of the bottom of the graphic there. So let me take off the player for just a moment. So yeah, again, happy birthday, Roger Dean. And thanks once again to him for all of his work that he's done for Yes and all these other bands and artists. Just a huge career. And check out the documentary that Dad and I did about the Secret Path exhibit that had his and his daughter Freya's art. If you haven't already, we'll probably have reposted it the same day, maybe prior to this or something. But yeah, go ahead and check that out. All right. It looks like this episode was about one side long on the vinyl, so I guess that's kind of appropriate. Hopefully this was somewhat listenable, but yeah, we'll be back and I'll see if I can talk about another one of my records or maybe do a news desk in the near future. We'll see what ends up happening. And Dad and I have a couple topics planned for mid-September, so keep an eye out as we roll out any posts about any upcoming stuff. So thanks for tuning in and see you all soon.